All right. Are we live? We are live. We're going to talk about modes eventually. And it's a lesson I've wanted to do. I feel like it's difficult to do in an organized video. I could probably do it in an organized video. I think now maybe what I would do is do it all graphics and then just do a voiceover. Hey Bob, good to see you. Right, there's what I want. Let me drag this up here. Um, so what I want to do is sorry, I got to reply to a text. Um, I'm going to kind of go through my explore. Hey, Arise. Hey, Dan, what's going on? Good to see you. I'm going to kind of do my lesson that I did on modes um, for years when I was teaching guitar lessons. So, yeah, I could probably redo this as a kind of a voiceover thing. And that way the whole screen would be graphics. That's part of the problem here. I would love to have a lot more. I tried to figure out a way to make the background on this text black, so I can have white on black, or I can flip it and do black on white. It doesn't really matter. I could create things and post them, put them up. I probably already have them, but they're completed, and I don't want to have completed ones up there. I want to talk through what we're doing. Let's see. That would be under. Oh, it would be in here. No, I'm not seeing it. Oh no, that's a different folder. Okay, let me go to my desktop and see, because I have a big YouTube folder here. Where are you? Right there. And there's a lot of stuff in there. But when I generally create stuff for my non-live stream videos, it's on my laptop, not here. So I don't see it here. It's probably on my laptop. And that's fine. But hopefully everyone's doing well. 6'9", good to see you. There's I'm gonna do a little jam here. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do it's gonna go through the 7 modes in the key of C. So I'm just gonna play right up here by this bar chord. Hopefully I'm not too loud. Let me turn that down. And so the chords are going to be basically a C major chord of some kind, a C Dorian chord of some kind, a C Phrygian. We're going to get to that, okay? So here's what that would sound like. It's going to sound like chaos. Back to the C. So I went through all the 7 modes right there. I don't know if you could hear that, but hey, Edwin, what's going on? Bruce is in the house. The Time Project. Hail Tom Strahle. Yeah. Hail me a cab. I'm out of here. There's so there's going to be formulas we're going to learn We're going to learn. What we're going to do is we're going to very easily learn all seven modes in the key of C, and then we're going to analyze those modes, and then we're going to transpose. And so when we come up with, and there's going to be some terminology here. I don't think you really have to worry about it. I'm not gonna. There's not going to be a quiz at the end of the week. So everybody take a celebratory sip. There won't be a quiz on this. Can I get this like sitting right here? Okay. There won't be a quiz on this. But I'll probably use the terminology enough that you'll learn it anyway. Okay. And that's actually part of my goal, is to say something enough. I always use this as an example. When I was a kid, I was probably 14 or 15 when I first subscribed to Guitar Player magazine. And I maybe understood 10% of what was being talked about, not just in the articles, but in the ads as well. Like, oh, all solid state amp, all tube amp, all tube, bypass, pure bypass, blah, 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 distortion, fuzz, all this stuff. I was, hey, what's going on, David? So, but the next issue, I understood 11% of what was being, what I was reading. And then the next issue was 12%, and so on and so forth. I still am not 100%. You can explain homage to me 1,000 times, and I'll forget it every time. It's just one of those things where you just, homage is just one of those things where I'm not very. I just, it goes in one ear and comes out another. So anyway, that's me and homage. Okay, so what we're gonna talk about. I used to get Guitarist magazine. Yeah, yeah. There's I don't remember Guitarist. I remember acoustic guitar, guitar magazine, guitar player. Guitar player is what I got mostly. I never had a subscription to guitar. Guitarist, I don't remember that one. Um, Yeah, yeah, lyrics. Yeah, I'm the same way. It's like when I was leading worship, it could be a song I did 100 times, and I would still need. It's more of a safety blanket kind of thing in front of me. My wife can remember lyrics like crazy. She has no problem. She hears them once and she knows them. It's pretty crazy. Um, but there's with this you should be able to remember some of this and some of the. So here's what I want you to do. I'm gonna have you. Let's do this. Get out a pencil and paper, okay? And you're gonna write fairly small because we're gonna put a lot of stuff on here. You can do multiple pages. I don't care. Um, oops, out your. No, that's no whatever. Okay. And you might, oops, my hand moved. You might want to use pencils just because you're probably gonna make mistakes. And it's up to you whether you write stuff down and then uh, and then before I give you the answer. That's totally up to you. If you want to write stuff down before I give you the answer, that way you can go, oh, I got it right, or oh, dang it. But if you do that, you might have to do some erasing. All right. Yeah. Oh, you could use a notepad. That's totally fine. You can use whatever you want. I'm fine with not paper and pencil. In fact, I don't even know if you may not even have paper and pencil in your house. I like writing things down. There's something about it, but also if you're doing it on a notepad where you can actually write or type it, it's kind of also another way of programming it. One of the like in college, I was taught um, uh, to memorize a passage of scripture. It was like long passages. I think it was you write it out 3 times, say it 3 times, and write it out 3 times, and you'll have it. I don't know if that's true. It seemed to work, but I didn't apply it every time. I'm pretty bad at memorizing things, songs, whatever. I'm pretty good at reading music, so that's kind of my crutch. And that's the C scale, what I've just written out there. Now, music theory is always easier to learn on piano. It kind of, especially what we're going to learn right now, it's real, almost obvious on the piano. On the guitar, no. Guitar is not a great instrument for learning theory, but I do not want to discourage you one iota from picking up the guitar and playing the scales on the guitar, because that's kind of where we need to move this information to, is to the guitar. And why modes? Well, why do we need to learn modes? Well, you don't need to learn modes. A lot of players play in modes and they don't even realize it. Like, for example, I'm going to pull up this C7 chord. And C7 chord would be a dominant, you know, like in a blues song, you would have. And I could play bluesy over that, right? I could play minor pentatonic. Turn down my guitar a little bit. And that sounds good. We know, because we know the blues works over a dominant 7th chord. Okay? But the scale that's designed for the dominant 7th chord is the Mixolydian scale. And in this case, it would be C Mixolydian. It's basically a C major scale with a flatted 7th. And it's a little jazzier sounding. You know, instead of having 5 notes like you would with a pentatonic, or 6 notes like you have with a blues, it's a 7-note scale. So there's one use of modes. Modes also comes in handy, I think, a lot when you're writing. Like, for example, if you're into metal, the Locrian mode or the Phrygian mode is really cool. So I'm going to do something in, I'm not going to use the piano. I'll do something here. What's the sound? I'm not digging that tone right now for some reason. It's just squishy. That would be E Phrygian, and it's a cool sound because it's got that half step above the root. I'm getting I am. That's what's happening. Okay. Let me pull. What's that? What is that? That's Army. Why is that coming? Okay, now this. No. Why am I getting clean? Oh, maybe I was getting. Okay. I was getting 2 tracks at the same time. I had two different guitar sounds enabled at the same time, so I was getting a clean sound and a dirty sound. And it was like freaking me out, man. Okay. But yeah, that's kind of so I use modes all the time when I'm writing. If I want to create something that sounds bluesy, I'm going to use a Mixolydian mode. If I want to create something that's maybe a little bit hopeful and mysterious, I might use a Lydian mode. So like an example of Lydian mode, I'll even use C Lydian for this example because it lays on the guitar pretty. But every Lifetime movie ever. Will she realize he's the love of her life? Okay, so that's I might use the Lydian mode. The Lydian mode to kind of create that hopeful or even mystical kind of sound. The minor mode, and there's basically going to be 3 major modes and 3 minor modes, and then a kind of a diminished mode, the Locrian mode, which I always was taught it was theoretical, but and not really ever used, and it is used again, kind of in a heavy metal context. So it's the same as the Phrygian mode, and don't worry about all this terminology. You're going to understand a lot more of this by the end of this lesson. Okay, so don't be freaked out by all the Greek, literally Greek. Okay, but the Phrygian mode had that F natural. Well, let's do C. Actually, I'm going to stay in F. But the Locrian would be the same scale, but with that fifth note flatted. The reason why they say it's theoretical is because normally in all the other keys you can have a 5 chord, but the 5 chord is like a tritone away, so it's like a 4.5 chord. And so it's like, well, if you can't have a 5 chord, you can't have a 5-to-1 resolution. Like, doesn't matter what key we're in, generally we're always going to have that blessed 5-to-1. So if we're in the key of C, we would have G7. We have that resolution. We have that tension to the resolution. If we're in C minor, we have G minor. But a lot of times, in a lot of music, you would have in classical music and in Spanish music, in particular Latin pop, you would have that dominant 5 chord. So you actually add a note to the scale so that you can have that tension and have that more strong. Because G7 resolves to C minor a lot more strong than G minor to C minor. G minor to C minor is the 5-1 resolution. Yeah, that's correct. But that major chord on the major 5 chord is always preferred over the minor 5 chord. So anyway, all right. So what we're going to do, the first thing, I think we've got a good number here. I saw 29, 28. We're good. Okay. So people hang on, and if you back up a little bit, you can get to the beginning of this. So I'm going to tell you right now. I'm going to timestamp it. So I'm at 1724 on your screen, basically. 1724 is when I'm going to start this lesson, all right? So we're starting there with the C scale. You can see it right here, okay? I'm going to point the wrong way a dozen times. And that's a C major scale. And that's just C. Well, it's exactly what you see written there, all right? It's C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. Okay, on the piano, that is just all the white keys from C to C, and we're going to stay on the white key. So if you have a piano handy, you can maybe, if you're watching this on a laptop or on an iPad or something, take it over to your piano and you can play along that way as well. Okay, now normally when I do this lesson, I would write it out and I would stagger it. So I would have C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, and then below the D I would write a D, and then start from there. D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D. All right, and but I'm not gonna be able to do that because I don't really know how to. I mean, and then it's just gonna run into me. But let me see can I do tab? See, tab goes too far. If I go space, 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 and then do D, that's not bad, but it's not lined up. So I'm fine with it doing what is this, okay? So I'm just going to go D. So I'm basically, I'm going to go, I'm going to take that C scale and I'm going to go from the D and I'm going to go to the D. So imagine 2 octaves of a C scale. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, whatever, okay? So that way you can kind of see both of the Ds, all right? But if I just take that C scale and start at D and write out the exact same notes, okay? I'm not transposing anything. This is the exact same chords, okay? C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D. All right, does that make sense? And then what that is that's a D Dorian scale. All right, now you don't need to necessarily know why, but it's That's the name they gave it. And it's uh, save, save. Okay, I gotta hit that. Okay, good. So hopefully you can read that. Okay, I did put like it's outlined. I don't know. Let me see. Did the okay? Is drop shadow better outline? I can't tell. It doesn't really make a difference at that size. It doesn't really make a difference. Okay. All right. So D to D sounds like this. Now, if you remember from like all our talking about songwriting and analyzing songs, we talked about the three major chords, which are the 1, 4, 5. So in the key of C, that would be a C chord is the 1 chord, F is the 4, and G is the 5, and they're all major chords, right? 1, 4, 5. Now the minor chords are the 6, the 2, and the 3. Or the 2, 3, 6, or however you want to think of it, but it would be D minor, E minor, A minor. Those are the three minor chords in the key of C. So it would make sense that the scale built on the second degree, the second note of the C scale, would be a minor scale. Now it's not a minor scale, pure minor scale, which in the Greek would be called Aeolian. All right, in the major scale would be called Ionian. And so I might actually use those terms because I don't want to necessarily use the term minor and not have you think of the other two modes, the Phrygian and the Dorian. So I might go ahead and say Aeolian for minor and Ionian for major. Okay, and so what I can do here is I'm going to have to make this smaller. Excuse me. Ionian. That, and then here, this is Dorian. Now, I'm 100% sure you all know where I'm going next, okay? Pretty obvious where I'm going next. And again, I hope you could see that. I wish I could make that background black. Did somebody try to explain it? I'm on OBS, and I would love to. It's like select font. Wait. Okay. Writing system. No. But see, that seems weird that you can't make it. I can do strikeout. No. I can do underline. No. Okay. Yeah, Sam's going to help us here with the Greek, and I maybe pronounce it, but. Just don't make it more confusing, okay, Sam? Just don't do that. I'm trying to keep this pretty simple. And you don't need to memorize these mode names necessarily. You might start to learn them as you use them, all right? And Dorian's a very good kind of jazz sound. So if I were to play, I'm going to loop the C chord here. This is just C major 7. C major. Well, C Dorian sounds very, very different. Now I can make this D Dorian. Let me go and just move this up a whole step, and I'll just play C major scale over this. And so that, C major works over a D. This is a D minor 6 chord, which kind of implies a D Dorian sound. So C major works over that, but I want to learn new scale shapes. So I'm going to keep this in C. Now we're in the key of C. So it's basically a C minor 6 chord. And we'll learn. You're gonna understand this better. We're actually going to learn, hopefully, maybe not today, but maybe the next week, we'll learn all of the modes in C. Now, I may go live this week. I haven't decided yet. I'll be at the NAMM show potentially this week. I haven't decided as well. I wasn't able to get tickets through my normal places because most of the vendors are not either not going or having a smaller booth. It may be the last year for NAMM. I don't know. I have friends that are saying this will be the last year that NAMM is a thing. But we'll see. I'm not necessarily. I don't know. We'll see. It definitely looks smaller. I got the app and I'm looking through all this and I'm like, okay, Gibson's not there and Fender's not there, and it's like weird. All the big vendors are not there. So it's more of the wannabes and the upstarts that are there. And a lot of times people don't need to go see those people. So we'll see what happens. Okay, now, so I think if you're way ahead of me on this, all right? You're way ahead of me on this. The next mode is going to be from E to E, okay? You're right? Are you already there? E. So E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E. Okay, and that's the one that we call Phrygian with a P. Phrygian. That's a Phrygian mode. And the Phrygian mode is an interesting mode. Like I said, it's a great one for kind of heavy metal or for film scores. You know, if I was, I actually been using a lot because I've been writing for this podcast that may become a TV show, which would be cool. That would be much better. Royalty-wise, podcasts don't pay royalties, so no back end on it. But it's called The Exorcist Files, and it's basically kind of a non-denominational pastor talking to a priest that does exorcisms, and he's telling his stories. And the pastor is asking him questions that you and I would ask him. And actually, in one of the first episodes of the first season, he says, "What do you think about the movie The Exorcist?" And they talk about that, and it's funny because he thought there were some aspects that were actually really on. And we talked about this, I think, but I didn't realize The Exorcist was based on an actual exorcism in St. Louis back in the 50s, I think. And so they based that story on that. They kind of combined two stories, that story and then one that goes back hundreds of years because of the way The Exorcist ends, but was not how it ended in St. Louis. But nice. You bought a Glary budget guitar. I've never heard of it. GMA 101 paid. Nice. No sharp frets. Oh, that's nice. Okay. So the Phrygian, again, is going to kind of have the chord that I got from this YouTuber was, I think, this. It's like 8. So I'm barring at the 8th fret, and then I'm playing on the 5th and 4th string. I'm playing the 10th and 11th fret, like that. All right. Let me see what I got here. All right. So it's basically a C minor chord with the pinky moved up a fret to get that D flat in there to make it sound kind of crazy. And that would be relative in the key of C. You could do it in the key of E minor or E Phrygian. Play E minor for me and to move your second finger up. And that definitely, and if you want to add your pinky, get that 7th in there. That definitely has a, and if I play that chord, C major, technically works, but it doesn't really want to resolve on a C, it wants to resolve on an E. Right, I didn't transpose it, did I? No, that's it. Oh no, I did, that is C, sorry. So in E, that's why it was sounded so out there. Okay, there we go. Oof, that sounds so high. Okay, so that That would be E Phrygian. Anyway, all right, so the next scale, again, I know you're way ahead of me on this, is, oops, cancel. Okay, now I'm going to start on the F in the C major scale and just go to the other F. F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F. And that's the Lydian scale. And that one's very usable, very beautiful scale, hopeful, mysterious kind of, you know. And again, these are all diatonic scales, so there's nothing particularly weird about them. We're not doing a Lydian with a dominant seventh or anything like that. These are just pure modes. And again, these terms, Ionian, Dorian, Phrygian, Lydian, all in the Greek vernacular. And here's C Lydian. So this is C Lydian. This is not, so this, so I'm having to change the C chord. We're C scale to do this. If I want it to be in the key of, relative to the key of C, that would be F major. Okay. If you want to make that Lydian sound with an F chord so that you're in the key of C still, you could do this F major 7 chord here, 4th fret, 3rd string. I'm sorry, 3rd fret, 4th string, 2nd fret, 3rd string, 1st fret, 2nd string, and an open E string. And then take off your 1st finger and leave that B string open. Woo, listen to that. Isn't that gorgeous? I mean, that right there is a movie soundtrack. Grab a weird pick and it's a beautiful chord. And the F Lydian sounds like this. We're going to get more to the playing, you know, when the rubber meets the road kind of playing things after we have understanding. Okay, does that make sense? I want you to kind of have a eagle's eye view of modes, and then we start to apply it more. So don't worry, like, hey, what'd you play? Hopefully I'll get a chance to show you that later. That probably won't happen this lesson. I'll have to do some diagrams, but I might write out all of the modes. I may already have that somewhere where I can just drag it over. But all the modes up here in this position, so it's right around this bar chord. And the reason I would do that is so that you can transpose it really easy. So if you want, instead of C Lydian, once you learn this shape, you want A flat, you just move this note down to A flat. Now you got A flat Lydian. Exactly. The scales are identical when we're, and here's the big overarching thing. I should tell you this. Okay. I'm going to write it above here. Okay. These are relative scales. Oops, relative, not relic scales. Yeah. Okay. So these are relative. They're that's how you refer to them, because they all have the same notes in them. They're just like you and your relatives all have the same DNA. These are also that. Okay, I'm making it smaller. Hopefully you can still see this. I apologize. I should put like something black right here, right? Yeah, you got a guitar stand there. That's probably not helping. Maybe it is. It's a little bit black. What's jacking it up here a little bit? Let's move that to there. Move that back. Make it this black back. Oh, I see. This book here, the Beatles book, I can turn that sideways. Yeah, we get a little bit more Tom micromanaging his studio. Okay, so I'm going to move this back to the key to C. There we go. All right. Now, again, you're way ahead of me on this. I know you know what's coming, and it's G to G. So we're going to go the C scale, but start on the G chord, a G note, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And that's how we get the Mixolydian scale. All right, that's a funny name. Okay, now, let me go back to what I was talking about the major and minor thing. Mixolydian is a major scale, basically. It's a type of major scale. So is Lydian. Remember we talked about this before, that I wonder if I can make this one smaller. Can I make that one smaller in relation to the others? Select font. I don't know where. No, it just does them all. Okay. Never mind. I just hate the way it kind of messes up my patterns there with where you can see from the C. I could, I could do this. I could have put, again, this is something I would have more control over if it was more of a graphic or a Word doc or something. All right. So now you can see patterns developing. All right. You can see all the E's at a diagonal, all the F's at a diagonal, all the G's at a diagonal right here. Boom, diagonally. So that's hard to do. And the F's coming up and the G's, and I can't even wrap my brain around that. All right. Oh. Increased. Is that right for OBS? Let me see if I can change the. How do you say that? I can make it less opaque. Let me see. I know I can change the. Yeah, it's not. That's not an option for some reason in this. I got defaults. I don't want that. Let's see. Select font. If I go to select font, it doesn't give me any kind of adjustment for that, sadly. So, but again, if you're writing this down yourself, you should be keeping up. You should be able to know. Okay, so G mixolydian. Let me just play C mixolydian here. This is going to be C mixolydian, not G mixolydian. It's kind of a dominant 7 sound, right? Play C, add the pinky here, C7 chord, bar chord here. It's kind of the jazzy way to play over a blues chord. It's also when you do that, you're basically implying a mixolydian kind of sound. C9 would be a mixolydian. Any C chord that has a dominant 7th, like a B flat in it, any C major chord, that's going to it's going to imply the mixolydian scale will probably work, unless it's like a flat 5 or something like that. Then you're going to want that would be one of those hybrid scales, or a kind of an adjusted scale that would be more complex, and we would have an extra letter in there or a changed letter in there. So right now, all the letters are the same, right? It's all just C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, right? So far, we will not stray from that. That will be the thing for the whole of this part of the lesson. We're going to get away from that, but right now, that's the thing. Okay, so the next one is, we have 2 more, just 2 more. We don't need to do the C one a second time. So we're going to go from A to A, right? So I'm going to go cap locks. I'm going to go A, B, C, D, E, F, G, A. Boom, done. All right. And on the piano, it's just all white keys from A to A. So far, we've just done C, all the C, this, and the D to D, and the E to E. All right. It's super easy. All right. Now, that is technically a minor scale. But we're going to call it Aeolian. So again, don't freak out. No quiz on this. But that's the proper name for the minor scale in the Greek. All right. And we're going to analyze these. So don't start figuring things out like going, oh, I noticed that this is this and this, is slightly different than that or whatever. It's yes. The D chord in the key of C major would be D minor, exactly. So again, to reiterate, I don't know if I said that right, but to reiterate, in the key of C, we have 3 major chords, C, F, and G, and we have 3 minor chords, D minor, E minor, A minor. And the modes built on those degrees of the scale will parrot that major and minor tonality, and the deciding factor is the third. Is the third, and we're going to get into this, is the third a 2 whole steps from the root, or is it a whole step and a half step from the root? And it could be a half step and a whole step. It doesn't have to be it doesn't have to be whole half. It could be half whole. It doesn't matter. Like in C, like what would be Phrygian if we went E, F, G. The third is a minor third up. We went a half step and a whole step. But in D, we had D, E, F, and that would be a major third, a major second, and a minor second. Whole step, then a half step. But it still adds up to a step and a half. Again, don't stress about this. I'm just saying it out loud because you're going to hear it again. But that's the difference between a major chord and a minor chord, is that third. Okay. If I take a C chord like this, right? I'm just playing a triad, so I'm just playing 3rd fret on the 5th string, 2nd fret on the 4th string, and an open G string. If I want to make that minor, I flat that 3rd, and now it's a C minor triad. And you actually can visually see it. You can almost see it this way too. If I do like this stretch triad, you can see that first interval get smaller. If I do it on one string, you could see something else happen. C, E, G, C, E, G. You can see it, that middle interval move and get closer to the root. But what else did it do? It got further from the 5th. We didn't move the 5th at the same time. If we moved the 5th at the same time, we'd end up with a diminished chord. We're not doing that. A minor chord has a regular 5th. That's why you can play a power chord, like a root 5th power chord, and it could be a minor. You don't know what key we're in. If this is the start of the song, it could be. Or it could be. If I'm just playing a power chord, it could be major. Right? So the root and the 5th don't really betray anything. It's when you change the 3rd that creates the major or minor tonality. So the scales built on C, F, and G are going to be the major scales in these modes, in these relative modes. They're relative because they have the same letters in them. Okay? And then the ones built on the minor degree, or the minor chords, are going to be minor scales of some kind. We have 3 different major scales. We have the major, or the Ionian. We have the Lydian, and we have the Mixolydian. All 3 of those are major type scales, but they have changes made to them, so they work in different situations or create a different emotion or whatever. But that's just the way they lay out. And then the 3 minor scales would be Dorian, Phrygian, and Aeolian. This Aeolian is the one we would normally refer to as a minor scale. Hold on a second. Sam asked me a question. Is that right? Oh, we got 40 people. Wow, awesome. Okay. Sam says the F and G are the 4 and 5 of C. Yes. So if you're vamping in the modes of C, for example, Dorian, you would play a D chord and your progression would still be D, F, and G. I'm not sure I understand that. A D major chord wouldn't work that way. You could do D minor. A classic Dorian progression, okay, in the key, let's use the key of C, for example, would be a 2-5-2-5 vamp. Okay, George Benson would do this a lot. I think the solo section of This Masquerade was just 2-5. I can't remember what key that song's in. But in the key of C, that would be D minor to G major. If we went back and forth between those 2 chords, that would be a very good opportunity to use your D Dorian scale and D Dorian chops, because it's a minor with a B natural, and it's a minor scale, a D minor scale with a B natural, which is the Dorian sound. So that accommodates the G chord. Spooky, I think, does this too. A lot of songs have that. You could also use D minor pentatonic if you want solo, but we're talking about modes. So So if I were to do this on keys, let me see. I don't even need the sevenths in there. Oh, it's slow. All right, we'll just do that. Quantize it, and then boy, I need drums. Give me some drums. Sorry. There's no kick. I have the sub turned up. All right, that's really lame, but it's really quiet. Turn it up here. Now I gotta go back to my sound. There's that Dorian thing. So it's not like, but I'll bounce it to Spotify and you can put it in your playlist today. No, just kidding. So yeah, so I'm basically I kept it simple, just D minor to G, not even seventh chord. There's not even sevenths in there, and that would be a good use of a Dorian scale. So Sam, that you could do D minor. Oh, you always have to change the channel line, but D minor. Yeah, you could totally do. So if that's what you were asking, D minor, yeah, that's a very fun Dorian progression as well. So let's say, let me put this here and I'll play that one. Might want to get that first chord. And that's basically that, and I got to quantize it. So this is kind of, I think Sam was saying, so this would be to F, D minor, to F, to G. And a lot of times you can, I always say, you know, what chord does it want to end on? It would sound really kind of dorky if you end on the one chord. It's like, no. Technically, if you're in D Dorian, the one chord is D minor. So maybe, I don't know. Usually a vamp like that is in the middle of a song, and so you're going to be in other parts of the song, you know. I don't know. Anyway, let's move on. So we have one more. That's it. And it's the one I always, you know, was taught in school. Was a theoretical mode because it's never actually used, and it's like, well, technically it is. That was kind of almost a challenge at that point. We don't ever use the B Lohengrin mode, but I'm just going to go C to C starting on the B. B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B. Now, the interesting thing about this is when you play this scale, it's like starting on the last note of the C scale, and you just go up to the last note of the C scale. And it sounds like it wants to go one more note. So that's another reason why it's kind of in that theoretical realm, because and now I can move this down, and I think everything's going to have fairly dark background. So that should be fairly easy to read. Where are we? 10 o'clock. Okay. So so if I play a B Locrian scale, that scale right there, it wants to keep going. It actually not a bad scale to play over a G7 chord. But it really does. You want to finish it, right? Because you're ending on what's called, and again, no quiz, but the seventh of a scale is called the leading tone. The median, the leading, whatever. There's all names for all the different individual notes. So, yeah, Locrian sounds like a Star. Yeah, you're right, Star Trek name. That's right. Let's see. So let's see. The one is from the perspective. Oh, so the 2/5 is from the perspective of the parent chord. Exactly. When we say 2/5/1 progression or 2/5 vamp, it's in relation to the whatever the root key is. So if the key is in E flat, then it would be F minor to B flat, 2/5 2/5 2/5. And again, that's if you're looking for to add a jam section to a song, that's not a bad way to go. It kind of has a 60s vibe to me, not only in the jazz context, but also just in the like some of the like and maybe even 70s, early 70s vibe because like Santana would do that, I think. Bam, bam, bam. No, that's actually in D minor blues. Yeah, that's a minor vamp, so that's not quite the same. That would be pure D minor. Um, so all right, so now what we're gonna. So do you see this? And do you see the like the? Hey, I got a stand right there. I don't normally have a stand right there. Do you see over here the lines going down like diagonally, like all the F's and the G's? Just put your eye on one of the A's. Also, if you look down from the top, you go from C down, you see C major scale, D Dorian scale going from the top down. Okay, so if you're Japanese, that's how you would read it, right? Hey Richard, what's going on? Happy Monday. Zihe Haye sings. Which one is? Oh yeah, which is the one that's not to be mentioned? Yeah, and I'm happy to mention because I actually. Locrian is great for like writing kind of if you want a metal sound or if you want let me pull up a sound that I use all the time for like one of the shows I write for is zombie house hunters. They use my music, and so every now and then I'll do a series of songs that kind of use sound. So check out this. Like I'm just gonna pull up a piano sound that I have that I made really dark and added a lot of verb to it. And I'll use this, sometimes. I even have, I think there's delay on. Yeah, so here, I'm going to turn this up a little bit. So this would be like something I might do in C and B Locrian. And you can see where it's super mysterious. I think actually not having a 5 chord or not having any sense of resolution gives it an emotion that you want in that kind of scenario. In a scary scenario, like I haven't seen a lot of episodes of Zombie House Hunters, but they, I imagine, you're going into a house and they don't know, what's the deal with this house. It's like pretty messed up or whatever. There's also another show that is about ghosts that I work on, and same thing. And of course the Exorcist files that I'm working on now, same kind of thing. You want to create this, this kind of unresolved. And just leave it there. and it's like, what's about to happen? That's what Locrian kind of says to me, and I actually use Locrian mode quite a bit. The other one that kind of does that is the Phrygian mode. It's just one note away, and we're going to see that. I'm going to show you. We're going to analyze all the, but we have a pathway. All right. So hopefully this is the root chord of B Locrian be diminished? Yes, technically the one chord would be B diminished. So that's another reason why you don't really end on a diminished chord. You can end on a minor chord, you can end on a major chord, but a diminished chord, it just doesn't sound right. So that said, when I use, Sam, when I'm writing in a Locrian mode, I'm usually not using any kind of harmony at all. I'm not really playing a chord progression. You're just basically playing, in this case, like a B bass and then working against it with the scale. Like something like a, right? A lot of times I'll write in B Locrian and then transpose it to a different key because it's hard to play. It's hard to play all those sharps and flats. So what? Yeah. So B minor would be in E flat the fifth, and it becomes B diminished. So B minor would have an F sharp in it, so it wouldn't be part of this family here. Okay. These are all relatives. There's Uncle Ionian, there's Auntie Dorian, there's Grandpa Phrygian, there's Grandma Lydian, there's Nephew Mixolydian, there's weird Uncle Aeolian. No, it's weird Uncle Locrian. So they're all relative. They all have the same DNA. All right. So now what do we do? What do we do with this information? All right. Well, we're going to do a whole new chart. And what we're going to do is I'm going to move this up. Hopefully you can see this, but I'm going to move it up here, and I may make it a little. I don't need to make it smaller. Okay. I'm going to do a new text here, and we're going to analyze. Okay. What are the formulas? We're going to come up with the formulas. Mode formulas. All right. Boom. Here we go. So, mode formulas. And I have to make this much smaller. All right. Oh, you know what? And see, I think it is easier to read though with the outline and the shadow, right? It's a little bit easier. So I'm going to do that again here. Where was that? There it is. Outline and drop shadow. Click, click. All right. That helps. Yeah, and you can find lessons if you just search. You can go to my videos. I think you can search my videos, or if you just enter Strahle, that's the kind of nice thing of having a pretty uncommon name. If you go enter in Google or YouTube, enter Strahle and capoing. I have a lot of videos on capoing. I'm a big fan of capoing. I need to teach you how to transpose. That's another lesson I need to do. I've just never had a good way of teaching that, and I just generally do it chord by chord. But okay, so Uncle Aeolian is the hot bag of wind. Yeah, exactly. Oh, see the Odyssey. Okay. It's been a long time since I've read the Odyssey. All right, so this, there we go. Why are you not letting me click on this? Okay. Does this, oh, it does, okay. So here's what we're gonna do next. You ready? This is very exciting. Okay, we're gonna go through these modes, the Ionian, the Dorian, the Phrygian, the Lydian, the Mixolydian, and so on, all the way down. We're gonna start on the C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C, and we're going to analyze the intervals between the notes. Okay, so what's the distance from C to D? What's the distance from D to E? What's the distance from E to F? We're going to go one, a pair at a time. We're not going to analyze the full distance from like C to D. We're going C to B. We're going C to D, then D to E, and everything. So there's two intervals. There's just two intervals we're talking about here. There's whole steps and half steps. You can refer to, and there won't be a quiz on this, but you'll learn what a whole step is. Whole step's 2 frets, half step is 1 fret. whole step is also could be also called a major second, and or a tone. Semitone would be a half step. So another term for half step is minor second, but we're going to just call, we're going to say whole, and we're going to do W and H. W and H. Whole step, half. Whole half, whole half, whole half. Okay. So we have formulas for each of these scales. You have to learn two things. There is a quiz on, but I'm going to put it on. I'm going to do its own little thing here. Okay, B to C is a half step, and E to F equals a half step. All right, you need to just know that. You need to memorize it however you can. Memorize that. Oh, well, let me do the same thing I did with this. Let me go add the, because I'm gonna move it over here. Just memorize that. Now, BC before Christ, EF, I used to, when I was teaching back in a day in the 70s and 80s and 90s or whatever, I would say EF Hutton. So you can remember before Christ and EF Hutton if you want, but BC, EF, those are going to be half steps. So if we're talking about that interval over here, all right, and you can see every one of these scales is going to have a BC and they're all going to have an EF, just so you know. I'm telling you up front. So there's going to be two half steps in every one of these scales. But all the other intervals, C to D, D to E, F to G, G to A to B, all the others are whole steps or W's. You don't need to memorize those. Just memorize the two half steps and then the other 5 whole steps automatically you've learned. Does that make sense? I'm a big fan of learning this, memorizing as little as you have to get the job done, all right? Change the O. I see. That's in a different setting. Background. Oh, I see. I see what you're saying. All right. Let's see. Where would that? Here's settings. That's settings for that. Okay. See, I may have a really old version of OBS, but let's see. Oh, here's settings. What about these settings? Okay. Okay, you see nothing there. Stream, output, no. Audio, video, hotkeys, advanced. I'm very nervous in here. Retry delay. Oh, interesting. In general, it's not. I'm not seeing it anywhere. Sorry. Thanks for helping though, Times Project. I really appreciate it. I need to just sit down with this thing and start messing with it. I'm a big proponent of you want to learn a software program, just start messing with it. Just experiment. You can almost make no mistake if it's nothing. Background is underneath. Okay, let me see. Am I just not seeing it? That's not unusual for me to look right at something. That's why my wife can always find something I can. I'll call her and say, "Where's the mustard?" And because she has ovaries, she can tell me exactly where the mustard is in the fridge. And I guarantee you I will have looked at it 17 times and not seen it. Okay. So on, oh, you know what? It may be up here too. I'm not even thinking about up there. View, talks, to bomb. Oh, profile, no. Edit. I'm not seeing it. Yeah, there's nothing marked opaque. Here, let's see. Select font, nothing in there. It's so frustrating. You just have to come over and show me how to do it. Oh, I could, yeah, true, Niesert. I could do that. I could green. Again, I don't know. I don't want to. I'm already too messed up as it is. So yeah, I am not. I'm just using the text that came with it. So I don't know what kind of text. Yeah, and what version of OBS I'm using. Keep in mind, I have a Mac too. So. OBS 2 is a free open source video recording thing. 25.08 point, sorry, 25.0.8, 64-bit though. So it must be a fairly recent version. Anyway, we're going to continue. So we're going to analyze, all right? So I'm leaving them up there so you can see them. Do I do the first one for you? I don't know. We'll see. All right. So if you look at the C major scale, we have C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. So that we're going to come up with a formula. So we're going to, what's the first interval? C to D. Is that a whole step or a half step? Well, is it one of our half steps? If it's not, then it's automatically a W. All right. What about D to E? Is that a whole step or a half step? All right. It's not one of the half steps there. So we are going to say it's a whole step. Boom. Whole. All right. Now, the next one is E to F. Ah, that's our E.F. Hutton, right? That is a half step. So we're going to go half step there. All right. Now we have F to G is the next interval in the C major scale, from the 4th degree to the 5th degree. That is a whole step. You're right. All right. And the next one, G to A, what is that? So is that B, C? No. Is it E, F? No. Then by default, it's another whole step. And then we have 2 more intervals, A to B. A to B is not one of our half steps, so it's a whole step, W. And B to C, that's our B for Christ. BC, that's a half step. Boom, done. There's our formula for a major scale. Okay, I can make this one a little bit bigger, actually. Maybe I might run into problems at the bottom of the screen, but I'll do this. All right. So there's, well, you know what? I do want to add, though, here. Oh, wait, yeah. So I'm going to have to make it small again. I'm going to add this to every one of them. So you again, you can see this. And you should write this down. That's the formula. I'm going to make it smaller again. That's the formula. Exactly, Gary. Major scale. And it will look you on with my scary piano. With my loud piano. All right. So you can do this on guitar, and this is huge. This is huge information. Because from the major scale, you can see we can get all the other modes, right? Up here, we started with this, and with this scale, we created all of these scales. So that means with this scale, we can create them again. Well, check this out. If I just use one finger on one string, start on C. Where's my... Oh, it grabbed the wrong guitar. Not used to having a guitar stand right there. And I go up a whole step, which is 2 frets. I get the next note and go up a whole step, 2 frets. Then a half, follow the formula. Then whole, half. Right? If I take that and go down to here to the 3rd fret of the 6th string, now I'm starting on a G note. If I use that same formula on that, I'm going to create a G major scale. So whole, half, whole, half. Listen to the sound of that. Whole, half, whole, half. We talked about tetrachords before, remember that? I could start on C sharp. Now I'm creating a C sharp major scale. Oh, my guitar's speaking. Yeah, no, it's just too loud. Yeah, in the room. Voice is here. Yeah, I try to stay in the yellow. If I hit the red, then I played a B sharp. I did play a B sharp. Okay, so now what we're going to do, now you could cheat once you start to see the pattern develop, but I don't want you to cheat. I want you to analyze all these scales. And we're going to do, you can work ahead of me if you want. This is me in 6th grade math. I was about 40 lessons ahead of everybody else because it was, in 6th grade, the teacher, Mrs. Wick, gave us a prospectus or a syllabus so I could see all the lessons for the whole year. And so I worked ahead because I like being ahead on stuff because I was always behind on everything. So in that was the first time I ever got like a syllabus for a class, 6th grade. And so I worked ahead. You can totally work ahead on this. So we're going to do we're going to do D Dorian, all right? So I'm going to open up this again. Let's see, modes, formulas. Okay. So we're going to go to D Dorian, goes D to E, starts with a whole step. Okay, so we're still with a W. Whole. And then we have an EF. So now we have one of the half steps. So D Dorian's going to, the second interval is going to be a half step. Well, there you go. There's the whole half I was talking about before that creates that minor sound. Notice that the first scale started with 2 whole steps, and that was a major scale. That's going to be true for all the major scales. And then all the minor scales are going to have a whole step and a half step, like here, like D minor, or they may have a half step and a whole step. It doesn't matter. If you think of a whole step as the number 2, and excuse me, as a half step as a number 1, as long as it adds up to 3, it's a minor third. It's the beginning of a minor triad. Excuse me. So it doesn't really matter what order they're in. But in this case, in a D minor, it's whole half. All right. Then we have F to G, that's a whole. G to A, that's a whole. A to B, whole. B to C, there's one of our half steps. C to D, there's a whole. Boom, done. That's it. Okay. And that's the Dorian mode. Now, you might see a pattern developed. You might start to see a pattern develop, all right? But don't utilize that pattern if you can help it. So B sharp is C, yeah. But you want to refer to it as B sharp if you're in the key of C sharp. You wouldn't want to say C in the key of C sharp, because then every time you wanted that 7th degree of the scale, you'd have to write a natural sign to get you a C. And then every time you wanted the root note, which is C sharp, you'd have to write a sharp sign, and it's way messy. You have to write a million accidentals. So that's why you have key signatures. Key signatures take care of all that for you. And you would have 7 sharps in the key of C sharp, which would have a B sharp. So that means every time you see a B on the staff, it's actually B sharp, which is enharmonic with C. But on paper, it's different. So, okay. Now, you don't need to know any of that. See, Sam always gets me on a squirrel chase. Okay, so now we're going to do the next scale, which is the E Phrygian scale, right? So that's E, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, or E. It starts with an E, F, which is what? One of our half steps. So this scale starts with a half step. And it's part of the reason it's kind of haunting, right? Because it's like, ooh, that's... kind of a cool sound. I really like Phrygian scale. Good for metal and good for kind of scary stuff or tension. Creates a lot of tension. Yep, time project is already ahead of me here. Nope, not quite right though. You're not quite right. So now we go from after the E, we have F to G, and that's a whole. G to A, whole. A to B, whole. And then we have a half for B to C, right? Then C to D is a whole, and D to E is a whole. That's it. You added another half in there, or you ended with a half. I'm not sure what you did. It's half, whole, 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 half, whole. It should, the last one should be a W. All right? And that, my dear friends, is the Phrygian mode. Wait, no. I'm right. I totally wrote that wrong. Phrygian. All right. Right? Yeah. All right. So, oops. See. All right. Now, we go to the next mode. We're analyzing. Now, you see the diagonal H's? That's where I'm saying don't cheat. Don't create your pattern based on that. And so what we're going to do is we're going to well, we already know that the F mode, the 4 chord, is a major chord. So we pretty much know we're going to start with 2 whole steps because we're going to create that major third. But let's analyze it and see it. Okay, we're on the F mode, the F Lydian, F, G, A, B, C, D, E, F. And F to G, that's a whole step. And we're going to get to the end of this part of the lesson. There's 5 parts of this lesson, technically 6 if we're going to apply it to guitar, all right? So we're going to get 2 of the 6 here today, and then I'm going to stop. But we're going to start with the F to G is a whole step. G to A, that's a whole step. A to B, wait, A to B, that's another whole step. So we start with 3 whole steps. Well, there's your Lydian sound. That's what makes it very Lydian. Okay, things like that start to appear, and you go, "Oh wow, that's very Lydian sounding." All right, then if we go B to C, finally we get a half step. Man, when half step was evading us. All right, and we go C to D. Yeah, sorry, I don't mean to talk to you like you're 7-year-olds. C to D, but I just think I'm so much smarter than all of you. No, I'm just kidding. All right, C to D, that's a whole step. D to E. Wait, did I get off here? C to D whole step, D to E whole step, and then we finish with a half step. So now, profit. Now you can end with a half step. All right, so that's the Lydian. All right. So all I did was I went through that Lydian scale up there, the F, G, A, B, and I analyzed the distance between those intervals, the F to G, the G to A, the A to B, and is it a whole step or is it a half step? And if it's a whole step, I write a W. If it's a half step, I write an H. All right, just for anybody just joining us now that's wondering, what the heck is Tom doing? All right, so we have 3 more to do. The G Mixolydian, G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Well, I'm just going to put two W's in right away. I'm not even going to analyze it, because I know that the Mixolydian is built on the G chord, which is a major chord in the key of C. So I already know I'm going to start with 2 whole steps. That's a given. You can't really do that with minor, because minor could be whole step and a half step, or a half step and a whole step. So you can't really make that assumption. But with major, you can kind of go, okay, I know it's going to start with 2 whole steps. All right. So then after that, we do have that BC. So we do have a half step. So we go whole, half. Okay, well, that's almost like Ionian. All right, then we go C to D. Well, that's a whole step. And then D to E. Wait a minute. This is exactly like a major. Well, what's the difference between Mixolydian and the major? Because look at the Ionian. It's whole, half, whole. And here we are in the Mixolydian. We're going whole, half, whole. Oh, guess what? The next interval is E to F. There's our half step. So now you can see the difference between a Mixolydian and an Ionian or a major scale. And then we finish it off, F to G as a whole step. Okay, I hope this is making sense. But you can watch this multiple times. And I kind of like typing it out in real time. I feel like that's actually really helpful for everybody. Flat 7, yep, exactly. And if I were to make C, we're going to do this. This is the next thing we're going to do. So we'll do this next Monday, but we're going to actually make what are called parallel scales. All right, parallel scales, parallel, la 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 la. But if I take a C major scale and I do a half step after the 6th degree, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, half step, then it turns it into a Mixolydian scale. All right, I'm just messing around. My hands got bored. Let's see. All right, so we've done the Mixolydian. We only have 2 more to do. Let's look at the Aeolian, which is just also referred to as the minor scale. But I like using the Greek terms because we have 3 different types of minor scales here and 3 different types of major scales. The 3 major scales are the Ionian, the Lydian, and the Mixolydian. And they're very similar, but slightly different. And then the same thing's true with the Aeolian, which is the pure minor scale would be Aeolian, and the Mixolydian, and the Dorian and the Phrygian. The Aeolian, the Aeolian, to get to Dorian, you make 1 note change and from Aeolian, and from Aeolian, you make 1 note change to get to the Phrygian, all right? Yep, Lydian is, yep. And we're going to get to that. That's going to be, that's the fourth part of this lesson where we go through and analyze everything numerically. Okay? Yeah, I can't figure out how to do that. Zabahe, I'm trying to. Uh, I wish I could. It's I don't see it anywhere here. You would think word wrap. What does that do? No. So it doesn't have background on these stupid, on this OBS for some reason. I can't find it. All right. Exactly, Gary. Okay, so we're going to analyze. Let's see, we're at the Aeolian now. So we have A to B, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Okay, A to B is a whole step. So we start with a whole step. And then now we can kind of just assume it's going to be a half step because it is, because it's a minor scale. So B to C is a half step. C to D is a whole step. D to E is a whole step. E to F, there's another one of our half steps. And then F to G and G to A. Yeah, I could potentially do that. I'm not sure though if I can control which is in the background. It may put the GIF above. Let me put a space there. Boom. Okay. It may put a GIF above the stupid letters, and then if I started with a GIF, maybe that would work. I don't even need a GIF. A JPEG might work, but yeah, I probably have a black background somewhere. Or white, it doesn't really. White would be harder to read, I think. Okay, so the whole, half, whole, half, whole. That's the formula for the Aeolian. See, I need to go to a live stream that teaches how to use OBS. No, that's Greek up there, I think. That's not Russian, that's Greek. All right, the foundation of all civilization, the Greeks. Well, not the foundation of it, Western civilization. So we have one more, and that's the theoretical Locrian scale. Okay. Yeah, any graphic image. Yeah, the problem is now if I add a graphic image, will it put it on top of, that? I can try. We can try. Let me finish. Let me do this, and then I'll try to do that so we have it. So you can do a screen grab or something and have all the information. But again, I think you should be writing this down. That's why I put pencils and papers down here, right? Because or typing it or putting it in writing it into an iPad or something, because it's another layer of you learning it and absorbing it is actually physically writing it out. In fact, if you want, you could write this whole lesson out 3 times, and it might start to get a little deeper absorption, as they say. But Atlanta sunk. Yeah, that's true. Okay, now the Locrian one is kind of the weird one. It starts with a half step, like the Phrygian, but that's okay. And we're going to go half step, and then C to D is a whole step, and then D to E is a whole step, and E to F is a half step. F to G is a whole step. G to A to B. And we have Locrian. All right. Oops. Locrian. There we go. All right. All right, so this is there. No, I don't want to move that. There we go. Okay. So let me see if I can get some kind of black background. Good here. Okay, here's one. How black is this? It's pretty black. View image. Okay. All right, let's see. Now, Okay, that's what you wanted, right? How do I make it smaller? Where is it? See, I can tell you already. It's. I don't know how to make it. Adjust the size here. Can I adjust the size? Okay, so let me do it this way. Let me delete that. Hilarious. Let me make this a lot smaller. But now the question is, how do I put it to the front? And I'm gonna try to figure that out right here in front of y'all. So embarrassing. Okay, just size. I'm just gonna make it smaller, and then I can drag it, make it bigger. Oh yeah, it's huge. Like 1200. All right, save. That might even be too big. We'll see. I'll drag it in again and see if it's small enough for me to find the. Oh, there it is. Okay. All right. So the thing is, I can drag it off screen like this, so I can make it bigger. So it will accommodate all of this, okay? Like that. Now, how do I send it to the background? See, I get no options here. I click on it says defaults. Yeah. No, and it just disappeared. Weird. Do that again, drag it in. Move it over. And let's see, view. No. I'm getting no options. Yeah, it's right. Oh, right click. Oh, okay. Now that's new. Order. There we go. Surely. Okay, move to bottom. There we go. Oh, nope. Nope. I did it wrong. Let me try that again. I don't want to move to bottom because then it's under my. Shoot. Now how do I get. Okay, I'm going to have to delete it and try again. But I think I understand what we're doing. Move back twice maybe because I've got two. I've got two here. So maybe right clicking on a text will do the same. Give me some options too. See that I didn't try. Okay, so now I'm going to right click on on this. Okay, order. I'm just going to move it down. No, move it down again. Okay, well, I may have to do it several times. Move, order, move down. Okay, there we go. And I'm going to move it down again, and we maybe get it. I don't know, because no, the BCEF is before that. So let's go, transform. This is way too hard. Where is it? Where did it go? There we go. Order, move down. Okay, I knew that wasn't going to do it. Now it's going to do it. I got to do move order one more time. Move down one more time. There it is. All right. And then I've just got to kind of adjust where it is. Oh, I could have done it here too. I think I could have done it. Oh, I could have done it there. All right, so let me just move that up there. See, I could go like this. I can take this, and I think I can like that. See, I could have clicked the up and down button. All right, well, that makes it a lot easier. Hey, Dimitri, what's going on? What bands do I like? AC/DC's great. Offspring's great. Gorilla's sister, Twisted Sister. Sister Twisted. The King and the Jester. I'll have to check that out. Yes, the excitement of live broadcast. But that does make that a lot easier to read, does it not? And let me move mode formulas. Let me move this over a little bit. There, and then maybe move this over a little bit. Kind of center it there. There we go. Now you can't really see me very well. I have to move. You like that? That's how we prepare for earthquakes in California. It's a great core exercise. Oh, you've seen AC/DC live 7 times. Dang, that's crazy. I've never seen AC. I've seen you two live a couple times. I'm not a big live show person. You would think being a musician, You would think I would have a really good stereo. I don't even own a stereo. I have my studio. So if I'm listening to music, I listen to the studio. I don't really, if I want to pull up music, sometimes I'll pull up on the TV in the living room, in the den. We don't have a TV in the living room. We just have one TV. But it's in the den. And see, in the library, yeah, no, I'm just kidding. In the common area, the ballroom. Let's see. The ballroom has music in it. I have speakers in the ballroom. The library does not, because when I'm in my library, I just want to read my books. And then there's the music room that does not have a stereo, and it just has musical instruments. And then you all think I'm YouTube rich. Yeah, I'm making hundreds of dollars a month. I could move myself back. I could also make my screen smaller, right? The video capture thing. That I could make like smaller and then move me in like that way. Yeah, I can move myself like that. You're saying, yeah, that's true. I can do that. This is all jacked up now. I've messed up everything. I don't know how I'm going to do OBS again. Slayer. Wow. Yeah, here's the problem with going to live shows is if it's really good, I get depressed and I want to go home and practice. And if it's really bad, I want to leave or I want to go home and eat food. And I'm just not a big fan of crowds and going to, like, if you have to go to like LA, somewhere in LA, and it's like I'll Uber to events usually now, like if I'm going to do that, so I don't have to deal with parking and all that. So because parking sometimes it'd be cheaper to Uber somewhere than to pay for parking. Some of these places, they want it so much for parking. It drives me insane. Yeah, exactly. Yes, and then there's the ballroom and the dining hall. Yes, indeed. Yeah, it's basically we live in the game Clue. Okay, so this thing here, again, I need you to memorize that. Now I can change this. I think I can change the color. Where I don't even know where that is. That's this text. Okay. Can I make it just black? See, they don't even give me that option. Okay, so what if I right click on it? Can I right click on it? Set color. Well, custom color. Let's do it. Just give me black. Is it going to be weird? Is it going to be black? It didn't change anything. It didn't change anything. That's weird. So no, oh wait, I gotta, there we go. Now click on it. Set color, custom color. Yeah. Weird. All right. You just have to learn that. Oh, we got some hearts coming. When are the hearts? I wonder how many people will use the print screen function instead of everybody's hearting that. Well, now that you can print it and see it, yeah, sure, why not? Then just crop me out, please. And I didn't go to Yale. My sister went to Yale. I have a really old Yale sweatshirt that my sister gave me, I think, when she was at Yale. And like that sweatshirt is 35 years. No, that would have been 40 years ago. She would have given that to me. So it's 40 years old. I still have it, but it's pretty mangy. So my wife got me this for Christmas to kind of take its place. That was her way of saying, don't wear that old sweatshirt again. But I actually hadn't worn that sweatshirt in a long time. Mainly because it was probably a medium. And it's like, I'm not a medium anymore. I saw Justin at a concert a few months ago, Justin Bieber. And he walked right past me and didn't see me because he had his head down because he was trying not to be seen. He had a hat on and he had his head down. And I said, hey, buddy. And I'm pretty much the only one that calls him buddy.
And he kind of looked over his shoulder and just kept walking. And I was like, oh, whatever. And then he came back the same way, and he saw me and gave me a big hug, and he kind of grabbed my belly and went, woo! I'm like, yeah. Yeah, but that was probably there when I first met you. You just maybe didn't notice it. Not sponsored by Yale University. No, I'm not endorsing Yale University. I'm not suggesting you go there. But it's kind of a cool. Actually, the funny thing is, Bulldog is their mascot, and so is Butler, where I did go to school. I went to Butler, and we were the Butler Bulldogs. So, yeah, so, a good friend of mine, well, Sheila Gonzalez from our church, who plays at our church, and her husband, James Santiago, who's a guitar kind of tech inventor guy. He invented the aux box for Universal Audio. He also invented my favorite pedal, which is my kind of one of my always on pedals, which not here in the studio but live. The Sparkle Drive Voodoo Lab. It's a great pedal. They went to see the Eagles with Steely Dan, and it was pretty freaking amazing. I mean, it's good. So and it's cool because I mean, again, the original members, the Eagles. Well, it's only Don Henley is the only original member in the band now. Timothy B. Schmidt goes back a ways, but I think Don Henley's the only from the original iteration. But Glenn Frey's son was in the band, and apparently he sounds a lot like his dad. So that's really cool, kind of heartwarming. And then Vince Gill's in the band, and that's a perfect fit. Vince is such a great singer, a phenomenal guitar player, and a great songwriter. So I don't know if they're going to do new music, if he's technically officially a member of the band, but he's been touring with them. And then Steely Dan, basically it's just Donald Fagen with his band. So in the application of modes pertaining to my earlier question, is there a formula to determine chord progressions? No. Chord progressions are up to the users, to the creator. So, I mean, if you go to my, sorry, this one screen is tilting. If you go to my jam tracks, there are progressions for the modes. Now, the way I came up with the progressions, everybody take a sip because I'm going to change guitars. It's just a 2-chord progression. I got this from, and I'll just kind of angle here so you can see my neck, from Joe Satriani, who did a kind of a jam track mode lesson record for, this guitar is filthy, I gotta clean this thing, for Guitar Player Magazine. It was one of those flippy floppy, look like a floppy disk kind of thing inside the Guitar Player Magazine. So, but basically what he did was he took the 4 and, okay, don't worry, there's not going to be a quiz on this, but he took the 4 and the 5 of the parent key. So the parent key in all of these relative scales is C, and the 4 and 5 is F and G. I'm going to do this on piano. So he just went F and G. Sounds like I'm cussing. Right, that F and G. And that was it. That's the only chord progression, Sam. F and G. Only thing he would do is he would change the bass note. So if he wanted to apply, let me go lower. Let's see. If he wanted to apply the key of C Ionian, he would play a C in the bass, and he'd play F to G. Now you can apply D Dorian, same way, just F and G, just keep playing F and G, but put a D in the bass. And you can practice your D Dorian licks and scales. And then if you go to E in the bass, let me turn it up a little bit. It's kind of weird sounding. F over E to G over E. And if I go to F in the bass, there's our Lydian sound. If I put G in the bass. Dominant kind of sound. Put an A in the bass. Kind of weird. And then B in the bass. So that's, but yeah, there are no, you can have a 1-4-5 in the key of A minor, Aeolian. It would be A minor, D minor, C, yeah. Technically, by changing the root bass, I'm changing the modes. Yeah, it's just a way to come up with a progression that'll work over, or a progression that work under that mode if you want to jam on it, right? Does that make sense? I can have that out of the picture there. It's just F, G. I mean, you can do it on the guitar too. It's just a little bit cumbersome because F and G are not that, you know. If you did it with a D in the bass, it'd be like E in the bass. Oops. Everybody take a sip. I didn't realize I was in drop D. Okay, so that F over E. But it's a real simple way of creating a progression in one of the modes. Is to again, what I'm doing, and I could do this in any key, and it does give you a little bit of maybe a little education, a little bit of insight into relative keys. But I'm taking the root key. In this case, the root major key in this is C major. And I am taking, the 4 and the 5 of that root key, and I'm going back and forth, and all I'm doing is changing the bass. So if I want Dorian sound, I just go F to G, the 4 and 5 over the D. If I want E Phrygian, I do the same thing with the E in the bass, the same thing with the F in the bass, you know. I mean, you might have to go through some machinations. There might be easier keys to do this in. A in the bass, B in the bass. That's the one that makes the least sense, but it still technically implies Locrian. Everyone always says that's not Locrian, that's actually Phrygian or Mixolydian. No, because I'm just not hearing the B in the bass. I can see where you would think it was G Mixolydian, like a G Mixolydian vamp, but the root note kind of tries to push you to that Locrian vibe, but Locrian is just not one of those scales. And so, are there Locrian progressions? Sure. But, what would they be? I don't know. It's like, I mean, maybe. I wrote a worship song actually that started with a diminished chord. So it's weird that you would do that, but it actually got published. I make a little bit of money on it. I think I did it 2nd fret. Yeah, she was not Skull and Bones. But she did meet my #1 fan there. Jodie Foster is my #1 fan. You know that story. But that's how Jodie Foster became my #1 fan at Yale. She was I don't want to say she was my number one fan, but technically she was my first fan. So technically she's my number one fan. No, well, what modes to start with? I mean, you already probably, or your ear probably can already hear the major and minor modes. Those are pretty common to hear. The Dorian, the most usable modes out of these would be, in my opinion, Dorian Lydian and Mixolydian, and probably even Mixolydian is probably the most usable. So like what you could do, Nathan, and I think I've talked about this in the past, but you could do, like, if you wanted to just do a jam track where you're playing it like, say, G blues to C7, G7. So that's a lot of. Oh, thank you. That's a beautiful thing you just did. I'm going to turn down the reverb a little bit. Back to the 4-chord C7, okay? The G7, D7 to C7, whatever, standard blues. A great exercise to do is to play over the G7 to play G Mixolydian. Over the C7 play C Mixolydian. Back to G. And then back to C. When the chord changes to C, you go to C mixo, and then you go to D. And then when you go to the D7, you go to back to C, and then the G. You basically play G Mixolydian over G, C Mixolydian over C, and then D Mixolydian over D, and you just try to find those shapes all here. You just C Mixolydian, D Mixolydian. Try to find them all in one position, and then do that for a day or a week, and then move it. Then in G, then play this position here. So you're learning all the G Mixolydian scales here. Maybe visualize a chord that you're playing over. And then the C7 chord, you can maybe see this. Yeah, you smooth brain. And that's pound. That's real money there, common people. And then the next one would be D Mixolydian, which they're all right, there. And that would be one thing you could do to absorb the sound and the feel and the placement of the Mixolydian scales. The Dorian scale, like I said, is a very cool scale for like a 2-chord jam. So if you were doing A minor 7 to D7. But you could superimpose over that, like, let's see, where did I did do it. So this is I got turned down, sorry. So this is the 2-5 in the key of C. So this is D minor to G7, very Dorian sounding. Goes to that G7 chord, the 5 chord, D minor. That's where you want to kind of hammer that B natural, which is the weird note of the Dorian scale. I like the 9th. Playing. But if I want to get up to here, 10th fret, where I have the A, B, D minor right there, I can kind of. I can have all the blues notes right there that I'm really familiar with. Pentatonic number 1, pentatonic number 1 blues. But then if I want to add those Dorian tones, and go back and forth. George Benson would do that all day long. He would go back and forth. I just said George Benson a lot because I really absorbed him when I was a kid. So you can create a hybrid scale. A blues scale, D blues has 6 notes. D Dorian has 7 notes, but you can add that blues note and create an 8-note scale. Try to play melodies. Think melodically, because that's people want to hear that kind of stuff more than they want to hear. You can tell it's getting towards 2 hours now. So, oh, it is. The Dorian is, yeah, the Grateful Dead. You're right, Gary. Grateful Dead do a lot of jams in Dorian because you can play, like I said, you can play blues over it. You can't hit that major third. That F sharp is off bass in D Dorian, but yeah, you know, you can kind of go in the blues. You can do the pentatonic. You can even do like with that progression, you could technically do like C major pentatonic. I'm basically playing A minor pentatonic. Or D minor pentatonic. Could I play E minor? You play E minor pentatonic. Kind of cool sound. Right? Has that B in it? It does have a D in it. It just doesn't have an F in it. You don't really want to do E minor blues. Do A minor blues work? Kind of. I always kind of like that sharp root thing because you can do that. It's kind of this. Kind of that neighboring tone kind of lick. See, here's D minor. Sing along with your playing. That always kind of gets your head and your hands tied together a little bit more. You can start to sing melodies and then play them. Not a bad thing. So, all right. Did I lose everybody? Nobody's commenting. Or you just listening to me jam? All right. Let's see. So we got, dang, we still got 36 people. How high did we get? 43? That's pretty darn good. 43, yeah, multiple times. 43 at around 10 o'clock my time, 43 at around 10:15 my time, 43 at around 10:30. Yeah, good turnout. Oh, what double stops are those? I'm just hitting the root on top and then playing, usually using my pick and my fingers. Um, oh, the double stops. Yeah, those were octaves. I was doing, but sometimes I'll use seventh. You know, I'll use all the double stops. You can, I use those all the time. That's a major third, minor third, fourth, fifth, octave, six. There we go. Sevenths. And then just have to be good at muting that middle string. Ninths, I'll use ninths too. The tenths. That was a big thing too in the 70s, was the double hit. Oh, is Zach here? Oh, hey, Zach. Now I'm nervous because Zach's here. C is major, A is the relative minor. Yeah, that's where the term relative comes from. You know, they're all related. They all have the same DNA. So D Phrygian is related, or is the relative Dorian. I'm sorry, D Dorian is the relative Dorian to C major. Oh, in general chit chat, time profit. Oh, is that over in drop Discord? Let me go over there real quick. Boom, boom, boom. No. Where's Discord? Where are you? There it is. It's probably gonna make me log in. It's been a while. Oh, there it is. Okay, general. Chit-chat. Yep, mine doesn't have that. Yeah, no, I would have done that if it done it background opaque. How do you say that word? Opacity. It's opaque and it's opacity, right? Mine doesn't have that. So you probably are a PC person, and that's why you have more options. It's from my perspective, working with OBS feels very caveman-y because it's a PC software. So all the way things work on a Mac, and it's the opposite. I know the opposite is true. It's because everyone who uses Macs only have to have a caveman's intelligence, because Macs do a lot more for you. Yeah, so I think their version for the Mac is not, and I could probably update it. Let me see if there's well, I'm not going to do it right now. Make a contribution, get involved, authors about, yeah, I don't see an update for it, but maybe I should update it. Maybe it would have that. Yeah, I'll try updating it and see if that does it. But yeah, so where the kind of rubber meets the road on the roads is it just depends. Sometimes you'll find that it's really nice to have that your Mixolydian chops down for playing over blues and taking it in a slightly jazzier direction. The Dorian thing, like I was just showing you, is kind of nice for like a jam, a slow jam kind of vibe. Do I use those modes in soloing very often? I don't know. My default setting on solos is to start in the minor pentatonic blues and then start adding notes from there. Kind of like, okay, where does this want to go? If the chord progression is really weird, you're going to have to follow the chord progression. Is it? Oh, are you seeing that red in the? Because it's highlighted or something. I don't know how to unhighlight it. Let's see. I'm seeing red, but I don't know if you can see that. That's just because the red I see is from if I'm highlighting that specific. Yeah, I don't know. So yeah, and I figured out how to move it to the not to the back. See, if I move it to the back, it goes behind my video. So, let's see. I don't know, Zach, are you still here? Where are times where, because Zach's a professional guitar player making a living at it, plays with a lot of different artists, and again, like different styles of music. Like R&B is going to use Dorian more than a lot of times. R&B is going to use minor and Dorians more than you're going to maybe use major keys. Now, Lydian, okay, here's an example of where Lydian could come in. Okay, say you're doing a song in C. Okay, and that doesn't have to be a jazzy song. It could be just... All right. If you wanted to, this is maybe a little extreme, but... You could end... if the song's in C, you could maybe hint at that Lydian, but it really goes jazzy fast. So you got to be careful. If it's a country strummer, you're not going to want to do it. If there are some seventh chords, I don't know. But a lot of times if I'm doing a jazz thing, I will end the song, if it ends on the one chord, I'll end on the Lydian. Oh, I see. An overlay. So and my lessons vary from lesson to lesson. I can make me smaller and then have the So I could have done the black background really big, start with that, and then go, because I don't know what you see if I make this. What do you see if I make this? See, it's black there. So if I just do that, that would work. I don't need the black background. I just need to make me smaller. I could have done that. See, that would have been the 12-second, no, literally 1 second solution, but I didn't do that. I had to make it more complex than it was. Oh, that's right. I forgot I moved me over here. So yeah, I can do that. I'll do that for next week. I'll copy these, and then I'll just, because the default background is black and white. So see, now I can move this down. No, not that. This down here. And so now that's there if you can see it. All right. All right. On that note, on this messed up OBS screen, and I actually have done that before, right? Where I've made it smaller and done the writing. I don't know why I forgot that I'd done that. That's what I should have done from the get-go. Because that way you can see all of me. All of me, why not take all of me? I guess Zach's not there anymore. Do you have any advice when to play the changes versus playing modes or sticking with the scale? Is it all preference? Usually genre, Nathan. Now, if it's jazz and it's two chords, a 2-chord vamp like a 2-5, then I'm just going to think the mode, or I'm just going to kind of think phrases or melodic lines. I wish I was a good enough jazz player to think melodic lines through complex changes. But if it's changing really quick, like a lot of key changes and stuff like that, um, I really don't. I'm not a jazz player. I wanted to be at one point. I think my jazz chops were better back then. Obviously, when you're working on something, it's going to be better. But if I'm doing something that's like that where I played an arpeggio over the F minor 7, and then I played an arpeggio over the B flat, played an arpeggio over the E flat minor, and then I played an arpeggio over the A flat 7. So I chased the chords. So if it's moving like that and it's changing keys, I'm gonna generally change the chords. That's a big discussion in like playing over giant steps, right? You got this. You've got these chords that are changing so fast. Do you play over the chords? You play over the keys, the centers of the chords. Ultimately, there's only 3 keys in that song: the key of G, the key of B, and the key of E flat. And they all move they make the shape of an augmented triad, which is really interesting. So in some ways, over giant steps, I can kind of change the scale. The problem with giant steps is it's like it starts out with 2 beats of B, then 4 beats of 4 beats of G, and then it does. So was it? So, yeah, it starts out with 2 beats in the key of B, 4 beats in the key of G, and then 6 beats in the key of E flat. So it makes it really hard to just kind of go with the flow until you really know it. And then it does a series of 2-5-1s, and at that point you could. So I might just think the key of G, the key of B, the key of E flat in giant steps if I would really try to play over giant steps. There was a period of time when I was trying to do all of the 1, 2, 3, 5 note chords on John steps. Like, how would you do that? Yeah. That was right. No, it starts over. And that was something a guitar player, a really good guitar player, showed me, is like to learn the patterns. I'm just taking the chord progression, and I'm playing 1, 2, 3, 5 on every chord. So starts on a B chord, I'm playing B, C sharp, D sharp, F sharp, and then the next chord is D. I'm playing D major. It's D, A, or C, D, E, F sharp, A, and then it goes to G, right? And then I make a G, A, B, C, and then B flat, C. So I'm just chasing the roots. And then he said, now do it backwards. And now he said, start on the second. And it's like, oh, my brain, it just was like, but that's an exercise to kind of help you get through it. But I find I almost create better melody ideas if I'm just like thinking the key center for each of the little phrases. Sometimes it's a 2-beat phrase. And keep in mind, 1, 2, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4, dun, dun, 1, 2, 3, boom, dun, 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 dun. The chords are going by this fast, 2, boom, boom. So you're not on those chords very long at all. So when you're on the B chord for 2 beats, it's like and that's it. That's all you get, and then you go right to the key of G, So it's like, um, yeah, I don't know, and again, I never really got to that level of jazz playing. The standards, songs are going by slow enough. I can keep up with the changes, no problem. If the song is fast but relatively easy changes, I can keep up with it. A lot of jazz tunes are blues. There's a lot of a lot of Charlie Parker tunes were just blues progressions. A lot of Coltrane's were like minor blues, like he had the song Minor Blues. So I feel like it just depends on the genre, but um, Zifaye, Zifaye. Zifaye. I may just call you Z. All right. Yeah. I always say if you bebop is insane. I always say that if you hit a wrong note in jazz, do it again, then they'll think you did it on purpose. So it's kind of true. But yeah, you can justify it, especially over dominant seventh chords. I can justify any note. A7, even G sharp. I mean, G sharp actually is pretty common in A7. You might do something. You go leading to the A. You got to go to that G sharp. But yeah, every note can be flat 5. You can do the sharp 5. The 6. The 9. Flat 9. Sharp 9. Yeah, all notes pretty much work over a dominant seventh chord. You can justify them. You can make them work or restate them or set them up. So pretty good. All right. So hopefully you learned something. Now next week the idea is to take what we're going to do now is we're going to create what's called parallel scales. And we're going to do something interesting to start that, and you're going to be like, "Wait, what?" And it's going to mess you up, man. It's going to mess you up. All right? So it's been over 2 hours. I'm getting tired, and I need the heater kicked on for some reason. I'm going to turn the heat down. But yeah, we're gonna try. Hopefully, I'll be here again next Monday and maybe live. So keep your notifications turned on. I may go live from the NAMM show if it's interesting. I was really shocked when I went live and now I won't be able to monetize that because there'll be so much music playing. But I was really shocked when I logged off of the music store thing. And by the way, if there's any ads on that, I'm not making any money from it. There was music playing in the background, so the copyright holders of those songs are making the money, not me. Da da dum da dum. It only used. I mean, I still had 99% of my phone power left after that live stream, which was about 30 minutes, maybe longer. I thought, I brought my charger. I was thinking, oh, gee, I'm going to go down to 0. No, I was charged up to 100% when I started that. And afterwards, I was 99%. It's crazy. So that's encouraging because normally at the NAMM show, I'm always running out of battery. And I'm sitting on the floor next to an outlet with everybody else that has a dead battery. So we'll see. I know when I did Periscope from the NAMM show years ago on Twitter, that would have been 10 years ago at least. That was crazy because it just killed my battery on my phone. I mean, oh my gosh, I could see the numbers going down as I was live streaming. So I maybe did 10 minutes that time. So we'll see. So I don't know what day I'm going to go yet. Just like I said, keep your photograph. So maybe keep your notifications turned on, at least for this week, and then you can turn them back off if you want. But yeah, it's up to you. I'm not good, but subscribe if you haven't. And most people have because that's how you see that I'm live. And we're still at 37. That's pretty good. Thank you for hanging out. Thank you for the coin. I really appreciate that. That means a lot. It all adds up. Oh, it all adds up. And where did you go? That's weird. Oh, here you are. No? There you are. I accidentally hit minimize. Okay. So thanks so much for watching. I'll see you Monday. God bless you all. Be safe. Stay warm if you can. Yeah, I do have a portable backup battery. But with my new phone, I haven't needed it. So it's just kind of sitting in my car. But I have it. It's in my car. It's charged up. So, and I don't know what it gets me. It's an old one, so it may not even be worth that much, but I have one. So